Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. Another one from the backyard, of course, this time the first positive one of the season from the backyard. I want to talk about a few things today. I want to talk about the Liverpool game. I want to talk about some of the transfer noise going on, especially with regards to Antony and Gakpo and where that stands, as those are, give me 1 second, sorry. Those are the two that are most likely, are the most active at the moment. Some thoughts on that, and then I'll get back. I'm out of the office today, so I'm not at my usual spot for recording. So I'm going to get back to putting out some of the information regarding the 2020 window, the things that with regards to Joel Glazer, the so-called Thiago tapes, etc. after that. But let's get into it first. First, I want to, the Liverpool game was awesome. I mean, there's nothing else to say. It's hard to describe how nice it is to see a win like that. I think everybody feels that. Everybody's on the same page there. It's been a long time since we beat Liverpool in the league. They're obviously having it's hilarious in that with everything going on, United are now above Liverpool in the table with 3 points. A great win, a pretty comprehensive win. I talk about the overall strategy and then go into some of the individual players, but it's interesting. I had a feeling that we would see a different team come out, not just because of the reaction to Brentford, not just because of the personnel changes at the back, but also because sometimes you need a big game like that to wake up a little bit. And the personnel that we have at United, especially in the midfield and attack, pre-Casemiro, are still well suited to big game football. They're still well suited to games where it can be very open, well suited to games where you can get on the run a bit. And here's the thing. That's why, there's been a lot of disrespect on players like Marcus Rashford, talking about him, and why I think it's silly, because you forget something, which is the small games in the league are definitely how you climb and win the league and climb the table. There's no doubt about it. And the league has moved more to a team settling in deep, breaking down deep blocks and all of that as you are a top side or play like a top side. However, you win trophies in big games. You win finals in big games. When you get into Europe, the games are open. When you're in those cup draws, the games are usually pretty open. And players like Marcus Rashford have huge records in big games. Marcus Rashford has scored 6 goals against Liverpool. I think he's probably scored more. He's probably scored more than the rest of the team combined against Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken, since his debut. He has 4 goals or more against every one of the top 6 sides. He gets a goal contribution about 1 in every 2 games for his top 6 sides. That's a very, very, very good record for that. But my point isn't necessarily just about Marcus Rashford. It's about the personnel. You do want a blend of big game players. Look at Manchester City, for example. They struggle in the big games in Europe. They've struggled in big cup games at times. They've struggled. And one of the reasons for that is that their team philosophy is so entrenched into breaking down low blocks and things like that, and that style of slow possession football, that they don't have the best big game record. And of course they win the league because they pick up practically every possible point from the small games. And so be it, But sometimes having that blend of big game players and that big game philosophy is necessary if you want to win trophies. I mean, if you watch Manchester United, the Champions League finals, obviously under Ole Gunnar, with Ole all the way back in 1999 and since and such with Sir Alex as manager, these were big games. They were open. That's how these games are played. Liverpool struggled last year against Madrid, obviously in their final, being too pragmatic. Anyway, point being, there's a value in being able to have such a team that is so violently dangerous when it gets into space and at pace. You can't just throw that away. If you throw that away for purely technical players that do not play well in space, you will struggle against teams like City, Liverpool, and such even more. And that's one of the reasons Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had such a decent big game record in the league against top teams and was able to beat City and and other teams like that at times. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's quite interesting that what you saw last night was probably a very strong blend. It was much more similar to Ole's style than what we saw, prior in preseason, and obviously you'd expect that. In open games, it's always going to be more up and down. It's always going to be more fast-paced. We didn't have the quality to dominate possession versus Liverpool, but who does? Nobody really dominates possession versus Liverpool. You're just not gonna, because it's not really worth it, and it's not how they don't really let you. They're gonna defend and run hard enough and press hard enough. You can't just dominate possession. You either have to be scoring or you're giving them the ball. I'm interested to see how the other big games are. But it was a good blend, because what you saw there was Erik ten Hag being somewhat pragmatic as a manager. And pragmatism isn't a bad thing. I mean, people have given a ton of praise to Thomas Tuchel because of his big game record and winning the Champions League. He's an extremely pragmatic manager. Erik ten Hag said in his interview with Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher that the players dictate how the style of play that you have. And I think people get too drawn into the idea that he's Pep Guardiola, which he's not, and don't necessarily grasp that he's a manager who has changed his style pragmatically over the years to fit the personnel that he has. And I think he will continue to do so. And I think that's part of what he's figuring out. Obviously, he's got basic principles he wants to put in place. And it's finding the balance between what the team can do with what you have and their best qualities and those principles. And the Liverpool game is a good example of that. It was essentially an improvement upon what Ole had done with other principles. The first half, the pressing, was better than any pressing I've seen from United in a big game. So that principle being put into place. Rashford pressed like a demon. Sancho was pressing well. Elanga pressed well. They tracked back well. The team was well organized in its press in the first half. United were very, very good. So that's one of those principles. They still played very vertically, made runs through and in behind. The defending was strong. So it's just an interesting blend. And obviously you can't play like that in all the small games, but there is a point to being fast, being quick, being vertical. And I think in the video, I put a video after Brighton, the biggest change that I saw, I put that video after Brighton. I said, a couple of days later, I was thinking, and I said, what bothered me the most and what I struggled with the most was how there was no intensity. There was no energy. It was like everything, I tweeted that too, everything was like half speed, 3/4 effort. Not yesterday. Not at all. And, and the biggest, two things I credit that for is, number one, obviously the start of the season being very bad. Ten Hag really laying into the players, saying, after Brentford was the first time he was unhappy with the actual attitude, the effort, the energy, making big calls on the team sheet, especially at the back, and it paid off. That's where it paid off in absolute dividends, because, the second thing was the personnel. Lisandro Martinez had probably one of the best games I've seen out of United center back in a long time. And not just because of his ability, but setting the tone right from the outset, right from minute one, And, that's the biggest thing that I've seen, setting the tone from minute one, putting it all together, and being aggressive, attacking. He was so aggressive, and really set the tone, and Malaysia followed too, and the rest of the team kind of carried through that, but everyone was energetic. Rashford was sliding into pressing and challenges. Bruno was going at it. Eriksen, but Dalot worked his ass off and was extremely aggressive. And Varane, I don't know that Varane is a natural leader, but he's a player who kind of matches the tone of the team. When he's next to and playing with aggressive players who are there, he's going to match that energy. And he did well, and there was a lot of togetherness and cohesion in the back line. So, for me, huge game from Lisandro Martinez. Huge game from Malaysia being up against Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I thought Rashford was fantastic. I think he deserves probably more credit than he's even getting for the game. Bearing in mind, his runs, his movement, his such were the only thing that allowed United to get forward and get out the back and stretch the defense and open them up. He was up against Van Dijk all night, not just offensively, but defensively. He was tasked with marking him on corners and set pieces, and had his work cut out for him. And he put in more effort and energy than I've seen in a long time and looked a lot like his old self. Sancho was very good. The goal was hilarious, amazing, exactly what you want from him, showing that quality in tight spaces. Malaysia, as I said, Martinez, Bruno played a lot better than usual. And then a huge Varane was exceptional yesterday, but then a huge thing for me, the biggest thing that changed the game, which was a fantastic call by Erik ten Hag, was it was working with Elanga, Sancho, and Rashford, but putting Martial on at halftime was an absolute stroke of genius from him. Martial was transformative to the team. Obviously created the second goal. His hold-up play was excellent. We've seen how good he was in preseason, and it's massive, the drop-off from him to, frankly, Ronaldo, or other options, or not playing with a striker. And having him in, I think, will be transformative for the attack going ahead. So, the weaknesses, obviously, you take this side, you stick Casemiro where McTominay was playing, you get a lot more defensive aggression and ability. McTominay did well, but keeping it very safe. Very, very safe. Casemiro could be a lot more aggressive, win it a lot more, but also help you control the game and be more in attack and more aggressive rather than conservative defending and going ahead. And then David De Gea, I think he had a good game, but at the same time you could see that the strategy was to go long because we gave up all these goals playing out the back. So we lost a lot of possessions based on that, down to that inability to play short and play through teams. So, that would be the thing I would say about that is, is just that, that's still a weakness and something that has to be solved. So given that, moving on to transfers, here's what I understand. The Antony thing is still confusing to me. I'm not sure exactly where it's going because, like I said, it would present a huge shift in the financial decisions at the club. So it's been very chaotic to cover this and to try to be accurate. I think everything was in line up until like a week and a half ago, and the sale thing came out, and then things have been just chaos since then. So you've got really good reports really good high-rated reports saying that there's expected to be an improved offer from United. Personally, at this stage, I do think the deal happens now, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. What I do know is this, from what I understand, the deal should be happening within the next 24 hours. If it is going to occur, then it should be happening in the next 24 hours. There's no reason for it to go beyond the next 24 hours. The talks to finalize it, etc., would be going in the next 24 hours. If you don't see it happening, if you don't see it moving forward, then look for Cody Gakpo on Thursday, because that deal is basically done. When I say done, I mean the personal terms have been set a while. He's willing to join. They know the fee. It's a matter of bidding at the agreed fee. if they want him. So that's what I'm saying. You won't see anything on Gakpo until after the 24th. I still cannot see a world where it's both right now, just down to finances and all that. But Antony, there have been talks, and there should be something happening in the next 24 hours. And if there isn't, if nothing is happening today and tomorrow, then I don't think it will happen. But there has to be some report on that by that time, and then look to Gakpo on Thursday in that case. So that's where it's kind of at now. I do think it'll happen. I do think it's going to happen at this stage. It just seems like it. Some people got in touch with me yesterday who spoke to some well-known people who seem to be knowledgeable on this specific deal, who believe that it's happening. From my side, like I said, there's always been the interest in Antony, but I don't know, because there's people who've told me, it is very confusing, because there's people who've told me that within the club they're being told they're going to spend a ton of money, but I don't necessarily believe it yet, I guess, is the thing. There's been a lot of lies, a lot of things that have not gone according to what they've said. I still don't totally believe it, not from an info perspective, but from like a once bitten, twice shy type of things, or whatever you want to call it, that through the summer, there's been a lot of things they've said that they haven't followed through with. And I wouldn't be surprised. I do think Antony will come now at this point in time. Antony will come. It sounds like he will. There's a lot of signals pointing to it. But I still wouldn't be surprised if they can't get a deal done, Ajax won't accept, and they move on and just bring in Cody Gakpo on Thursday. So that's kind of where it's at. But you should see news within the next 24 hours on Antony. With regards to Trapp, Trapp is a good deal here. This is a realistic deal. There's interest from all parties. I don't know anything about the costs, and so I don't know whether United will decide to push forward with it yet or not. But I do know that they've spoken with the club and player, or representatives around the player, and there's interest from all sides in making a deal happen. So there's good chances of this. Outside of that, in terms of goalkeeper, I have not heard many other names outside Alex McCarthy. That's pretty much it. I don't believe that a right back will come in at this stage. There's talk of Wan-Bissaka leaving, but I haven't got any confirmation that there was anything that he is close to Palace or that anything's done yet. I may or may not, but I have a good source there. I just haven't heard back that anything's happening yet. But I have been told that it's more likely, even if he goes, for Brandon Williams to be the backup this year. And so that's kind of where that sits. I don't expect a right back signing. Let's see. People keep talking around on Frankie de Jong. I haven't heard anything except the deal is essentially dead. Same as what I think Ornstein said. It's extremely unlikely. Lowry, it's Jason Burt, etc. Most all have said it's extremely unlikely. So I haven't heard that it's anything but completely off as of this stage in time, or anything to change that. So in summary, Antony, I think personally happens. There's a lot of evidence building out there now. But I still have this doubt in the back of my mind that they're not really intending to do it, and you'll just see Gakpo on Thursday. Ronaldo still wants to go, but, time's running out there. The deal for Gakpo is effectively agreed if they decide to push ahead with it on Thursday. Kevin Trapp has a real chance of coming in. I don't expect a right back. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a goalkeeper and Gakpo come in, and that's the summer, okay? I wouldn't be surprised at that now. Moving forward, I think your first choice 11 under Ten Hag with what we have right now is basically what you just saw to start the second half, with Casemiro coming in for McTominay. So De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Malaysia, Casemiro, Eriksen, or Fred, depending on the game and depending on fitness, Bruno or Eriksen, if Fred's playing, Bruno and him rotating, Sancho, Martial, and Rashford. But I think you're going to see at least one forward come in there who may or may not start right away, but there's a lot of games to be played, so you need that coverage. And then obviously if a goalkeeper comes in, challenging De Gea. And that's where things stand. We're running out of time. The Antony and Gakpo situation has to be resolved in the next 2 days. and the goalkeeper thing should be resolving soon after that. But I don't necessarily expect anything beyond that at this point in time. I am expecting updates on all of this today and tomorrow, so when I get news, I will definitely share it with you. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. Looking forward to Saturday. I'll do videos through this week. I'll do another special with Riddy on Thursday, and we'll preview the game, talk about Liverpool and all that. We'll get some more out there regarding Joel Glazer. I thought the protest was great. Keeping the pressure on to get the Glazers out of United as well. So again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next video.